My latest video, I've decided to talk about the selfish nature of anxiety disorder, all the various anxiety disorders. Now, let me preface this conversation by stating that people who have these conditions almost always are loving, caring people who care very much about others. They are not inherently selfish people any more so than any other human being. But it's the nature of these conditions that end up making them incredibly selfish. So think about it. If whether it's OCD, whether it's health anxiety or anxiety disorder, or panic disorder, whichever condition it is, what are we thinking about when we're affected? Are we thinking about others? Other than to worry, probably not. We're thinking, I know in my own case, I was thinking, oh, what is wrong with me? What is going on with me? And I would spend hours and hours trying to figure it out, whether I was on Google. When my health anxiety was bad, I would ask my wife constantly, about how something looked. It could be something silly like how a muscle looked, or how how did I look sick? Just ridiculous questions. And you just ask them because your mind is perseverating on them. You just ask them over and over again. And you end up driving people that love you crazy with these incessant questions. With OCD, I know with intrusive thought OCD, the constant question was, do you think I'm a good person? Do you believe that I'm a good person? Because the thoughts that you have with intrusive thought OCD are so horrible that you're looking for that reassurance. But therein lies a really big problem. We're not going to find the answer to our mental health condition by asking our loved ones questions. We will push them away eventually if we do this enough, because we will be so consumed with ourselves that here they are, they're trying, in the case with my wife, we're trying to run a family, we're trying to do a budget, we're trying to have a close relationship with each other, and all that's going on are questions about my health, or if I'm a good person, or when I was depressed, there'd be bouts of crying, and not a lot of real communication that was an interchange, which is what intimacy is all about, and what every relationship, especially a marital relationship, thrives on. So these conditions are very selfish. The routines we might develop with obsessive compulsive disorder, they're going to end up being selfish. What I need routines. And it's amazing how in some of the households with people who are deeply affected by OCD, how the entire family learns the idiosyncrasies of the craziness of the individual. But again, it ends up being about us. And this is not because we are inherently more selfish than other people. We're not. If anything, I think that people with these conditions definitely are very caring and loving people. And it's just that this all gets internalized. Instead of being able to use it in our lives the way that we should, to help others, to get things accomplished, to get things done, we end up just turning all of this inward, and it does no benefit. There's no benefit to that. You can drive yourself crazy. You're not going to get the answers that you're looking for, because the answers you're looking for it's not rational. The questions generally, if you listen to yourself aren't going to be that rational either. It's rational to worry. You find a lump, to worry, okay, maybe there's something wrong. I need to get that checked. It's not rational to think about something constantly, and even after you've gotten things checked and the doctor said you're okay, to continue to think, no, there's got to be something wrong. I know there's something wrong. It's not a rational thought. And again, what I give you guys is always, my personal experience. I understand everybody is going to have their own experience, and it could be different than mine, and that's fine. And also, I will remind you guys that I am not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a psychologist. I am just somebody who has suffered with these conditions for about 21 years. So I want to give people a firsthand accounting of some of what can go on when you have these conditions and how they can affect your relationships with others. And, I can just speak for myself. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life was marrying my wife. And, for about 6 years, when this was not being treated effectively, what a strain I put on our marriage. Again, not intentionally, not because I'm a bad person, but because it was untreated. Whether she had to deal with OCD, she had to deal with clinical depression, she had to deal with panic disorder, she had to deal with health anxiety, some of that simultaneously. And, it wasn't until I got effectively treated that I really made significant progress and became a less selfish husband and father. Now, as far as what to do to improve this, because none of us want to be that person who everything has to revolve around. We want to be, especially in our relationships with our friends, our relatives, our children, our spouses, we want to be somebody who they can count on, who will listen, who they can talk to, who will listen to them. And these conditions are going to make that nearly impossible if they're not being treated, and if you don't know how to check certain behaviors before they really take too deep of a root and interfere with your relationships. So one of the first of all, you got to get treatment. If you're having it to the point, if you're having whichever one of these anxiety conditions you're having, if you're having it to the point where it's starting to affect, people realize that you're not being yourself. You need to go see a mental health professional, and you may need to start some sort of pharmaceutical intervention. But you have to do this because you want to get better and you want to get closer to being yourself again, as soon as possible, to do as little damage as you possibly can to the relationships that are important to you. In the meantime, try to spend some time thinking about someone else. Desperately try to think about, just try to empathize. Think about how things, ask your wife how her day was, or your husband, or your children. Ask them and listen. Try to listen. I know you want to think about, if you're like how I was, you want to think about, what's wrong with me? Why don't things feel real? Whatever aspect of your anxiety, whatever symptom is manifesting itself at the time, that's what you're thinking about. But go ahead, try and listen. If you can listen for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you can do, it's going to help. Those are going to be 5 minutes that you're not thinking about something that's irrational, that you can do nothing about. And it's 5 minutes that you're going to reinforce your relationship with this person that you care about. So try. And even as you maybe are treated with medication, you're going to have to get these relationships back to where you want them. And you're going to have to do that by listening. Listen to the ones you love. Try to empathize and try to focus on what they're going through at the time. This will be so therapeutic for you, and it'll also be tremendously therapeutic to get the relationship back to where you want it. Also, if you can take it a step further, do something for them. Try and do an activity either with them or for them, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse, whoever it may be. Try to do something with them. Now, again, until you're really in a good place with your treatment, you might not be able to do something huge. I'm not suggesting that you plan some elaborate trip or that but anything, a day trip, an hour at the park where you can just try and listen to them, play with your kids, do something to get yourself out of your own headspace. This will be therapeutic for you, and it will help your relationship with your family. So again, other than treatment, those are the things I found. Stay busy. If you're not getting rest, get your rest. Try to anyways. Exercise if you can. Try to get 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week. It can be walking, whatever it is. And obviously try to eat in a balanced way. Whatever diet you're doing, try not to let food be something that you self-medicate with or that you are, using to cope. You want food to be either eaten because you want to get joy out of eating it or to satiate your appetite. And again, that's something that's really not an easy thing for any of us to master, but it's important. You don't want any of those 3 things to get out of control. Now, for the person in your life who's neurotypical, who is not experiencing these health conditions, what can they do? Maybe someone you love either they have obsessive compulsive disorder, or they are experiencing some other form of anxiety, health anxiety, panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. Whatever it is, they've turned inward and all they're thinking about is themselves, whether it's their own depression or whatever it might be. Well, here's some suggestions I have for you. Number 1, realize that what they are experiencing is real. It's as real as cancer. It's as real as a broken bone. This is not something that they're making up. This is not something that they're doing to get attention. That is not what's going on here. These people still love you. They still want to be with you. They hate this condition. As horrible as the condition is for you to endure, multiply it by a factor of 10, and that is how horrible it is for the person affected by the condition. Next, I would suggest that tell them you love them. Make sure they know that you're there, that you love them and you support them, and that you realize that they are not crazy. Because one of the primary things that will start to go through people with anxiety disorders' mind is that they're losing their mind. And to hear some reassurance that, from someone they love, that they're not losing their mind, it goes a long way to hear that. And also another thing that you should remember is the way that the person is acting is selfish as it is. They are not doing that. They are not making a conscious choice to do that. It's the illness that's causing this. So And that's really hard, right? Because you can't see this illness. You can't see depression. You can't see anxiety disorder. You can't see panic disorder. You just see a person that looks the same as the person you married, or as your parent, or as your child. Whatever the relationship, you see them how you used to see them, but they are being affected by this condition. And that is what's causing this. This is not them just saying, nah, I'm checking out, or we're just going to talk about me. And if you look at, if you take a step back, because I know the damage that this does to relationships, but if you take a step back and you look at it, would the person that you married, or whoever, whatever relationship this person with the anxiety condition is, would they really want what they're choosing? Would they really want to talk about themselves all day? Would they really want to stay isolated in a room? Would they really want to put on a lot of weight because they're too scared to exercise? Would they really want to do any of these things? They wouldn't. You know they wouldn't. You wouldn't choose it, and they certainly wouldn't choose it. So you know it's the condition. So for both, though, whether you are the person affected by anxiety, or you're the person married to or related to or friends with the person with anxiety, the most important thing is to get effective treatment. And this can include exposure therapy. It can include pharmaceutical intervention. But whatever the case, that is what's going to get things on the road to recovery. And then after that, you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to mend the relationship by showing the person, if you are the person who's had the anxiety condition, show those people you love how much you love them again. When you stop thinking about yourself and this condition every second of the day. I'm pretty much done. This is pretty much what I wanted to touch on. And I just want people, both who are in the situation of having the anxiety condition or the OCD, or the person or the people who are related to or in a relationship with the people who have these conditions. I wanted to give both perspectives. At some point on my channel, I may be interviewing people of both who have the conditions and people who are either married to or related to people who have the conditions, and some of the trials and tribulations along the way. But just remember that just because maybe some damage has been done to a relationship because of anxiety or depression, it does not have to be permanent. It doesn't. You get treatment, you can mend those fences both ways. Maybe you were insensitive to somebody who had the condition. You can mend them. Once they're under successful treatment, you'll get them back. They'll listen to you. They'll hear you when you apologize. But yeah, that's about where I want to wrap up this video. Again, I want to thank everyone so much for their comments, and like, share, subscribe, tell anybody you know who may be enduring depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, whichever one of these conditions. Tell them about the channel so that they can get a perspective, a firsthand perspective. Somebody who's going through it, who's been through it, and, is always going to have to deal with it. I'm sure as long as I'm on, the right side of the grass, I'm going to have to deal with this. But thank you so much. And until my next video, take care.